just the name, Pirates of the Caribbean, and then, of course, the memory of the theme park ride. But there was no concept at that time, or at least nothing that they said to me.
The Pirates of the Caribbean is one of the famous movies in history. The action and the emotional thrills keep fans captivated, but there are behind-the-scenes moments that many do not know about. Join us as we unveil 20 weird facts about the movie. Number 20. The first expensive movie to be made. You heard that right. Before the Pirates of the Caribbean, no other movie had such a high production budget. Just how much was this budget? Well, hefty enough to make your jaw drop. One of the sequels to Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, was released as Dead Man's Chest, and it had a budget of $300 million. The production team decided to go hard. Of course, many doubted this crazy step. They wondered why they had to spend that much on a film. Previously, no one had attempted it, so there was no way to know how successful it would be. At the time of its release, it was the most expensive movie ever to be made. Did people receive it well? Did they make a profit off their bold step to go all in? Yes, they did. After its release in 2017 at the Disneyland Resort, it became the highest-grossing film of the year. It made over $963 million. Can you imagine that? Who knew that crazy move would be so rewarding? Well, it paid off, bringing them several nominations and awards. They also gained viewers who gushed about the effort put into creating the art. Although some critics may argue against it, the results and profits speak for themselves. They proved that you could get a reward for going all in and testing the waters. This film provided other film houses with a template for expanding their budget. They saw possibilities of recouping the millions they invested in production. And today, it's a different ballgame at the box office. Well, we have the Pirates of the Caribbean to thank for that. Number 19. The first Jack Sparrow character.
I didn't think I'd make it past 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, no, I was right on the way out of it.
Did you know that Johnny Depp wasn't the first choice for Jack Sparrow? That's crazy, right? Who else could have brought such perfect delivery to the film? It was Keith Richards. They first considered him for the film, but decided against it. Instead, he took the role of Captain Teague, pirate lord of Madagascar, keeper of the Pirata Codex, and starred in The Brethren Court. The production later decided that Keith would instead play the role of Jack's father. They thought long and hard about bringing him into the film, but even that was a struggle. They couldn't find a perfect time for his role's appearance. He was meant to feature in Dead Man's Chest, but there was no room for him in the story. Getting Keith to set was the most chaotic part. Can you imagine pausing a film because your lead character is too busy and preoccupied with other ventures? It was a good move to go for Johnny, as Keith's schedule became more taxing during filming, 0.26 to 1.04. He was a busy man, and that meant tight schedules. It was a struggle to get him on set as he was caught up in a Rolling Stones tour. The director, Verbinski, found a way to make it work. He created a time slot to shoot in September 2006. Can you guess when this schedule was made? It was 3 months prior. Verbinski ensured that he had time to deliver his best in the role he played. They wanted his full attention during filming, and the only way they could do that was to work with his timeline. Did you know that Keith also missed a film scene due to an accident he had on set? He was badly hurt after he sustained injuries from falling out of a tree. The pirate team made a smart choice by going for Johnny for the long, extended film. Despite Keith not taking the lead role, he was indispensable. Did you know he inspired Johnny's portrayal of the Sparrow? You heard that right. He did. He was first rumored to play Jack's father in 2004, but no one could prove anything. However, the production reported that Keith would be part of the movie in 2006. The film was a success, and we're glad he was still able to be a part of it. Number 18. A teenager was part of the cast. Can you guess who that is? It's Elizabeth. Keira Knightley was only a teenager when auditioning for the first film, The Curse of the Black Pearl. She had just completed Bend It Like Beckham, and the studio executives were questioning whether she could support a major film franchise. But Keira did wow the casting department with her sense of humor and tenacity. We saw this same tenacity later in the series in Elizabeth's character. By the time they filmed at World's End, Keira had fully matured into the role, and her performance infused Elizabeth with a grace, courage, and emotive quality that made her unforgettable. Number 17. Long filming days. Pirates of the Caribbean. At World's End was not an easy film to realize. It was an enormous production with crews in multiple locations, unpredictable weather, enormous sets, and complex stunts. Principal photography for the second film began while the first was still being completed, as the two movies were filmed almost back-to-back to save time and keep the cast together. Much of the filming took place in the tropical splendor of Hawaii, on the islands of Molokai and Kauai. Pirate adventures were well suited for the beaches, dense forests, and rocky cliffs. Some other sequences were filmed in California, where big water tanks were constructed to imitate ocean scenes. These tanks enabled the filming of seemingly perilous skirmishes on the sea without actually endangering actors in open water. Costumes were yet another integral part of creating the film's world. A substantial portion of the budget was allocated to clothing. Every coat, hat, and sword was meticulously crafted and delivered by the wardrobe team. Most costumes were made 3 or more times due to water, mud, or stunt damage. Makeup artists also had their work cut out for them, particularly for characters like Davy Jones and his crew, whose sea creature looks were a combination of prosthetics and computer effects. Here is a fact you may not have expected. Many of Jack Sparrow's signature charms, such as the beads in his hair, were selected or even made by Depp himself. The actual filming was long, exhausting, and grueling. The cast and crew members all had stories to share about the stress they faced during movie production. They spent long hours filming. However, the cast often spoke about the fun they had on set. Between takes, they would joke around, share meals, and even play music together. By the time filming wrapped, the team felt like a genuine pirate family, one that had weathered storms both on and off screen. Number 16. Critic reviews. Although the movie turned out great, it received a lot of criticism. The review on Rotten Tomatoes, Pirates of the Caribbean. At World's End were not so good. It had a rating of 43% and an average of 5.4 on 226 reviews. Some of the viewers thought the movie had too many characters and too many plots. Some said the storyline was no different from other trilogies. Others had issues with Johnny's character. In their words, there can indeed be too much of a good thing. One strong critic said that At World's End was one of the worst films released that year. He felt it was a disappointment, and the showdown wasn't necessary, as it portrayed a non-event and had repetitive swordplay that made the plot distasteful. The complex twists made it hard to focus on the characters and the segments. The Chinese press also raised concerns about the film. They found Chow Yun-fat's character controversial. Perry Lam, of Hong Kong cultural magazine Muse, said it was offensive that the film showcased a resemblance between Chow's character and Fu Manchu. Perry said, "Fu Manchu has returned after an absence of 27 years in the Hollywood cinema, except that, in a nod to political correctness and marketing realities, he is no longer called Fu Manchu." Many believed the series should not have spanned as long as it did. They thought the storyline looked the same and had no major changes. Number 15. Jack Sparrow's fame after the movie. Captain Jack Sparrow, played by Johnny Depp, is one of the most recognizable and beloved characters in contemporary film. Although his character was eccentric and unpredictable, it was charming. The Jack of Pirates of the Caribbean. At World's End is a more enigmatic version of the previous one. He is captured in Davy Jones's locker and contending with bizarre visions of himself. However, Johnny's process to become Jack Sparrow was odd. It was strict behind the scenes. When he auditioned for the first Pirates film, his interpretation was so unconventional that Disney executives were worried that people wouldn't understand what he was saying.
You go into the hospital, say hi to the kiddies, you see this amazing.
Isn't that sweet?
He modeled many of Jack's mannerisms and those of rock legend Keith Richards, including the swaying walk and half-lidded gaze that soon became iconic. In an interview, Johnny expressed his surprise at being called to continue the series. He never believed he would get a call after his audition. He thought he did poorly and had accepted his fate. However, things changed when he signed a contract to continue the series and ended up one of its main characters. Filming for At World's End started when Depp had gotten into the John Sparrow character. One strange phenomenon, though, is that the cast and crew found it difficult to maintain a straight face while filming with him, as he would often say lines that weren't in the script. At one point, he would mumble gibberish to his fellow actors, just for the fun of watching their faces. Johnny was famous for visiting kids in the hospital with his costume. The content on the kids' faces was satisfying. He once had to spend several weeks in the hospital when his daughter had an illness. After that moment, he realized how important it was to have someone light up a dark moment. Number 14. Elizabeth Swann was schooling during filming. Elizabeth Swann is one of the central figures in Pirates of the Caribbean, at World's End. In the earlier films, she is the governor's daughter, a girl with an adventurous spirit who is stuck in a life of rules. At World's End, Elizabeth transformed into a fearless leader. She wasn't a dormant character in the film's narration. She even became the Pirate King. It was a massive plot twist, as she was the last person that anyone would expect to be the Pirate King. Here's another fact that many people may not know about. Keira Knightley filmed some of her scenes in the earlier movies while completing her schoolwork between takes. She often studied and took classes on set before changing into her costumes. By the time of the third film, she was a certified Hollywood star. She became a professional with a good work ethic. Elizabeth's contribution to At World's End is connected to her character in the film. She was always loyal and ready to make a sacrifice. She fought not just for herself, but for her friends and freedom on the seas. She was every bit as daring as the pirates she sailed with. Number 13. Memorable scenes. After the Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl received positive attention in 2003. The crew and cast were given another contract. They signed on to produce another series, and the shoot was more hectic than you can imagine. They had to shoot back-to-back, but they had memorable scenes. The Maelstrom battle at the end of the movie was one of the most difficult scenes to film. This scene involved large rotating sets and wind machines, as well as a mountain of computer-generated imagery added later. Johnny Depp and Orlando Bloom mostly performed movements like swinging from ropes and jumping between moving platforms. The crew had to tightly choreograph every movement to make the action appear chaotic while ensuring safety. Jack's role becomes even more surreal. The scene where several Jacks are fighting amongst each other was not merely for comedic effect, but rather a way to depict where he was mentally in the strange afterlife. The scene took longer to film than anticipated, as Depp had to film each Jack individually, while keeping track of the timing of his imaginary interactions with the other actors. It was worth the effort, as it resulted in one of the most memorable and odd moments from the trilogy for audiences. Number 12. Accolades like any film. The Pirates of the Caribbean had good reviews. Some said the complexity enhanced its value for repeat viewing. They also praised the effort that went into production. The performances of the actors were one of the film's best aspects. Gore Verbinski and the stunt and special effects crews created one of the most impressive blends of live action work and CGI wizardry ever put on film. It's almost always entertaining. Number 11. Box office records. Pirates of the Caribbean, At World's End broke records at the cinema. In North America, it made $309 million and over $600 in other nations. It became the highest-grossing movie of 2005. It was also the most commercially successful film in the Pirates of the Caribbean series. It held the place as the 7th largest opening that grossed over $340 million during its worldwide opening weekend. In North America, it was released in over 4,000 theaters and displayed on over 11,000 screens. This is an all-time record in the film industry. The Pirates of the Caribbean also set a 4-day weekend record of earning over $130 million. It held the first spot until Top Gun: Maverick was released in 2022. Number 10. Censorship problems. The Pirates of the Caribbean had issues with the censoring authorities. The officials ordered some scenes to be removed from the movie. The state news agency of the People's Republic of China trimmed 10 minutes of footage containing Chow Yun-fat's portrayal of Singaporean pirate Sao Feng. The uncensored theatrical release shows Chow on screen for 20 minutes. No one spoke about the reason for the censor order, but close sources within China said the character gave a poor representation of the Chinese people. They did not fancy the portrayed stereotypes. Number 9. The show's director quit the film. Gore Verbinski has been the film's director, and he ensured the entire story came together. After Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl in 2003, Verbinski signed up for 2 sequels and led the crew on several shoot and set days. It happened daily and it was grueling. Well, that's just how the Verbinski is. When he wants something or has a creative idea, he does everything in his power to bring it to life. He focused on the characters in the previous series to keep the plot moving. He was inspired by real-life pirates and wanted to recreate that in the movie. He gave it his best show because it turned out to be a great film. At the premiere, Verbinski spoke about inspiration. "I felt it important that the third film was the end of an era. Like in a postmodern Western where the railroad comes and the gunfighter is extinct, it seemed that we had an opportunity to take a look at a world where the legitimate has become corrupt, and there is no place for honest thieves in that society, so you have darker issues and a little melancholy. The myths are dying." That seemed a great theme with which to complete the trilogy. He created fictional characters from historical mythology and brought the story to life in a way that surpassed people's imagination. He conceived the ideas for the 2 sequels in 2004, and the shooting happened in 2005 and 2006. However, after the release of Dead Man's Chest, Verbinski took a bow from the series. Number 8. One of Disney's biggest merchandise items in history. Disney has been known to create blockbusters, and the Pirates of the Caribbean is one of its best sellers. It became Disney's 6th largest distributed film and 2nd highest grossing Pirates of the Caribbean film. It also ranked 18th in other countries. It dominated the box office for 3 weeks. Fans worldwide could not get enough of the action and thrills. In South Korea, it earned $16 million, which was a level up from the movie Transformers: Dark of the Moon, which raised $14 million. On its 20th day of release, it had over $500 million and broke the Spider-Man 3 record to be the fastest movie to reach that amount. Number 7. Will Turner's unforgettable role. Will Turner's progression throughout Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End is both convoluted, emotional, and darkly complicated. From the first film, he is established as a talented blacksmith, but secretly has pirate blood running through him. His character in this third film is further twisted. He must choose between rescuing his father, Bootstrap Bill, who has become trapped aboard the Flying Dutchman, and saving the woman he loves, Elizabeth. So his story becomes one of the most touching elements of the film. The process of casting Will Turner was nearly as interesting as the role he portrayed. Orlando Bloom was already known for his role as Legolas in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and therefore his face was fresh in audiences' minds when Disney began their search for Will. His combination of charm and strength made him a natural for the position. Bloom matched the character's innocence and ambition, and Will's development throughout the series was plausible. In At World's End, Will attempts to be courageous, but proves otherwise. He risks it, and often doesn't tell anyone, because it is the only way to get what he wants. One of the most poignant moments is when he strikes a bargain with Captain Sao Feng to secure his father's release. These choices create tense situations in which the viewer cannot be certain that they will be able to save everyone they love. At the end of the film, Will sacrifices himself, becoming Davy Jones' captain of the Flying Dutchman. It's a bittersweet ending. He is allowed to save his father, but this comes at the cost of long periods of separation from Elizabeth. This final act shows the depth of his love and loyalty, and it's one of the reasons fans still remember Will Turner's story years later. Number 6. The amazing soundtrack. This sense of largeness and emotion in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End was due to the music. Hans Zimmer, a household name for epic and iconic scores, wrote the songs. Zimmer had already scored Dead Man's Chest, but for the third film, he wanted the music to be bigger, richer, and more dramatic than the previous series, and he achieved it. The soundtracks in the series conveyed a sense of adventure and danger. It started from the very first notes. It swept through themes with drums, strings, and low brass amidst the intense battle scenes. The film also featured emotional and intimate moments, accompanied by perfect soundtracks. One unforgettable soundtrack was in scenes that depicted the characters' struggles and sacrifices. Zimmer maintained a balanced tone, allowing the audience to fully engage with every aspect of the action while understanding the weight of the story. Perhaps the most unforgettable is the Hoist the Colors song, which opens the film. It is a chilling sea shanty sung by a chorus of condemned prisoners. This light song has a darker feel to it than those of the earlier film. It gave the film a different tone. Another memorable soundtrack is Up Is Down. It is featured during Jack Sparrow's whimsical yet desperate exit from Davy Jones's locker. These types of tracks highlight Zimmer's ability to align music with the emotional content of each scene. Another is the rousing finale piece, which is the end credits song, Drink Up Me Hearties. The soundtrack features variations of the iconic Pirates of the Caribbean theme, making it familiar yet also fresh. Years after the film's release, many fans report that this song continues to give them goosebumps. An expanded orchestra performed the score, and Zimmer composed it in authentic pirate style by incorporating unusual instruments and rhythms. The mix of traditional orchestral music with sea-inspired elements helped create a sound that's now instantly recognized as part of the Pirates universe. It's not just background music, it's part of the movie's soul. Number 5. The sequels of the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. At World's End was not the last audience's encounter with Jack Sparrow and the world of pirates. Due to the success of the first 3 movies, Disney was interested in exploring further adventures, and the story has progressed through subsequent sequels. Each new movie retained the same swashbuckling fun while adding new characters, villains, and twists. A third sequel, On Stranger Tides, was released in 2011. This film is about Jack Sparrow's search for the Fountain of Youth. It also introduced Blackbeard, arguably the most infamous pirate of all time, and his daughter, Angelica. Though Gibbs made a reappearance, Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann were not in this installment. There was a similar tone, though it seemed a bit different because the narrative was less about a collective and more solely focused on Jack. The next installment in the franchise was Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, in 2017. This film featured more emotional scenes that fans loved from the original trilogy. It also introduced Henry Turner, Will and Elizabeth's son, who was determined to undo his father's curse. Karina Smythe, a headstrong astronomer, had her dark secret. The villain, Captain Salazar, also infused a dark, haunting energy because he had a personal vendetta against Jack Sparrow. Though these 2 sequels maintained the franchise's distinct blend of humor, action, and fantasy, they also revealed the potential for the franchise to shift. The legend of pirates remained alive for the filmmakers, who ensured that new stories and new myths for the characters to pursue were added. Speculation about additional sequels remains among fans. Disney has hinted at new stories, though details have been kept quiet. Some rumors suggest a soft reboot with new characters, while others hope for the return of familiar faces. Whatever happens next, the sequels have proven that the Pirates of the Caribbean world is big enough to keep growing. Number 4. Marketing of the movie. Pirates of the Caribbean. At World's End was marketed in an equally adventurous and audacious manner. Disney understood that this was the much-awaited 3rd film in the franchise, so they ensured that it had the feel of a massive film event. The campaign began months before release. They built interest through teasers that revealed enough to hint at a story but left enough major reveals for a big drop. The first significant step was the release of short teaser trailers in theaters and online. The trailers in question were vague on details but teased fantastic travel and global struggles, as well as the reunification of fan-favored characters. Despite earlier marketing efforts to create suspense around whether Sparrow had indeed returned from Davy Jones's locker, eager fans were anxious to see the character again. Posters constituted another major component of the campaign. They had close-up portraits of the main characters, all looking fierce and determined, accompanied by dramatic taglines. Some featured Jack, Will Turner, Elizabeth Swann, and a few of the entire pirate fleet. They do foreshadow the epic final battle. Disney also took advantage of television advertising, inserting brief clips of the exciting footage into popular television shows, other programs, or sporting events. These commercials were often followed by the dramatic theme music that viewers had come to associate with the show. The merchandising was not irrelevant either, as stores were filled with toys, costumes, and other tie-in products, particularly leading up to the premiere of the film. The studio even involved theme parks, creating special events and pirate-related attractions to immerse fans in the pirates' world. Magazine articles, cast interviews, and behind-the-scenes specials maintained public awareness of the film. By the time the premiere date rolled around, it was huge. Costumed crowds of pirates lined up outside theaters to be the first to see the conclusion of the trilogy. The marketing push was not merely for a movie, but rather for a global celebration of pirate adventures. Number 3. Release date for the various series. As for the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, each entry enjoyed its moment with well-timed release dates slated to maximize viewer engagement. Disney typically shot for late spring and early summer, when schools were out in many of their markets and families were ready for big blockbuster entertainment. The Curse of the Black Pearl was released in early July of 2003. It was also exactly the right time, smack in the middle of the summer movie season, and the film became a hit. The weather, the season, and the buzz all contributed to its cultural success. The second, Dead Man's Chest, was released 3 years later in early July 2006. This was not an accident. Disney also understood that the summer box office was where the gold was, and by dropping it during this window, the movie received a maximum uptick. Fans flocked to the theaters to view the cliffhanger that would result in the next installment. The third film, At World's End, deviated slightly from that tradition. It was released in late May 2007, which was earlier than the traditional summer season start. This enabled it not to have to compete directly with other major blockbusters that would come later in June and July, as well as gaining a head start on box office control. The later sequels, including On Stranger Tides and Dead Men Tell No Tales, continued the late May trend, releasing in 2011 and 2017. At this point, the franchise had developed a significant following, and these dates had become a tradition for theater lovers. The release date was not only a matter of convenience, but a tactical decision. In preparation for the launches, Disney waited until school was out in the country where they planned to release the film, and until top box office weeks were underway or had passed. This meant that each of the films would have the greatest possible opportunity to sail successfully. Number 2. Home media for the film. Fans of Pirates of the Caribbean, high from the experience of watching it in the movie theaters, did not have to wait long to bring the adventure home. Disney's DVD releases began in the early 2000s, when DVDs were still home entertainment royalty, and it felt like opening a treasure chest. The first, The Curse of the Black Pearl, was released on DVD in December 2003 for the holiday season. The timing was not accidental. It became a Christmas gift must for film lovers. The film's home release included behind-the-scenes footages, outtakes, and commentary tracks featuring the cast and crew. The home experience of the series also changed as technology did. The second and third films, Dead Man's Chest and At World's End, were also released to DVD and then Blu-ray, also containing such features as deleted scenes, in-depth documentaries, and galleries of concept art. Disney knew it was not enough. Fans wanted the whole experience. When On Stranger Tides was released in 2011, high-definition Blu-ray was standard, and options for viewing in 3D Blu-ray could be found by those who wanted the most immersive experience possible. The second sequel, Dead Men Tell No Tales, was released in 4K Ultra HD in 2017 at the same time as the Blu-ray. It provided images with greater detail and colors that were even more vibrant. Digital platforms also became a key part of the franchise's home media journey. Services like iTunes, Amazon Video, and eventually Disney Plus allowed fans to stream the films anytime, anywhere, making the adventures of Jack Sparrow available at the tap of a button. The early days of DVDs to the era of streaming, the Pirates of the Caribbean series has sailed smoothly through every wave of home entertainment technology. They ensured the series could be enjoyed over and over again, regardless of the audience's location. Number 1. Awards and recognition. When the Pirates of the Caribbean series first set sail in theaters, nobody expected it to become such a massive critical and commercial success. But the film didn't just win the hearts of audiences, it also caught the attention of major award bodies. The biggest surprise came during awards season. Johnny Depp received praise for his role as Captain Jack Sparrow. It earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor in 2004. It was a rare achievement for a performance in a fantasy adventure film, and it cemented Jack Sparrow as one of cinema's most iconic characters. The movie also picked up Oscar nominations for Best Makeup, Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Visual Effects, a clear recognition of its technical brilliance. Beyond the Oscars, the film also made waves at the BAFTA Awards, where it received nominations for production design, makeup, and special visual effects. Johnny Depp again earned nods from various critics associations, and he went on to win several Best Actor awards from regional film critics groups who couldn't get enough of his quirky, unpredictable performance. The success didn't stop with the first film. Later installments, particularly Dead Man's Chest and At World's End, also received recognition for their visual effects and sound design. Dead Man's Chest even took home the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects in 2007, thanks to groundbreaking work on Davy Jones and his crew, which combined motion capture with stunning CGI in a way audiences had never seen before. Over the years, the franchise has picked up dozens of honors from People's Choice Awards to MTV Movie Awards, celebrating everything from fight sequences to on-screen chemistry. While the movies have always been about fun, adventure, and escapism, the recognition it receives proves that Pirates of the Caribbean is a major reaction and achievement in the film industry. It's been years, and fans still love the series. Many take time to watch and relive the pirate experience. What do you think about the Pirates of the Caribbean? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.